Welcome to Insurance Claim Radio, where leading hail loss consumer advocate Phil Coutu and his team of experts teach you how to avoid the pitfalls of hail damage claims and how to use his team of experts to get what you truly deserve under your insurance policy. Now, here's your host of Insurance Claim Radio, Phil Coutu.
Hi, I'm your host, Phil Coutu, and you're live with Insurance Claims Radio. We're a program to help policyholders, consumers with insurance policies for property coverage such as hail, fire, sewer backup, wind, etc. I'm live with a panel today. I've got Brian from Blue Ribbon Contracting. I've got Mike from Pro Roof Solutions, and I've got James D'Angelo, a public adjuster. And we experienced public adjuster. We're into multi-shows here today. And we're going to open it up today, right off the hop. We're going to talk about ordinance and law, overhead and profit, and a few other topics that affect your claim. Mike, you want to start?
Yeah, it's a really difficult area to talk about. It's not easy. We fight it all the time. And I mean, I go home with headaches wondering why. How can they do that? They say, hey, listen, we've got 50% of the air hawks on the top of your roof that are smacked and beat up, and it's just got cosmetic damage. It's not going to hurt it. We're not going to pay for it. And you go, I'm sorry, you're going to pay for it, right? I mean, this is, under their policy of insurance, they're going to get paid for it. And the county, or where they live, may require that they end up, giving let's say a 1 to 300 air ventilation, whatever it might be. So, I mean, ordinance of law is what the county would require to upgrade to that new statute where they're going to get what the county is requiring, whether it be a wind rating on shingles or et cetera.
Well, furthermore, a savvy public adjuster or very, very savvy contractor. I only say public adjuster. A lot of times there's more policy knowledge with the public adjuster because that's a private adjuster. So you've got a panel of a few guys here. Myself and James are private adjusters. Often we'll move coverages. I can recapture. Sometimes you'll blow through a limit, and I can recapture. There's a green limit now in roofing, so a green material. So I blew through my ordinance and law because we had to upgrade on a flat roof 5 inches of insulation. We had a couple $100,000. We're at $280,000. So I want to try to save my client and find coverage for him. It's not always there, but a very savvy public adjuster will look at all the coverages. Example is, I had to upgrade to 5 inches, but I had to, and the adjuster had it all under ordinance and law. I'm like, hold on, we hit 2 inches here. And I'm like, well, hold on, we did have crickets. The crickets to slope the water on that roof, those existed, so that shouldn't be under this coverage either, and it brings it down. I think I just had one big claim where we were 150 grand over 400,000 over the 250 cap, and I was able to get it down to 257. So instead of my customer paying an extra, it would have been 143. He had to pay, or it would have been 150 over the cap. I got him down to only 7 grand out of pocket.
Yeah, the real point to this that both gentlemen are making, this James D'Angelo, licensed public adjuster, is to know your policy and to know how to match the coverage to the loss. That's really important. And Phil just brought up another point. Most law and ordinance, or what most people like to think of as code improvement, also it covers other things besides code. It's just not limited to code. Most of those coverages are a percentage of the total. So Phil was mentioning, hey, they would run out of it. Well, guess what? The insurance company adjuster, when he does the calculation, it is not going to be the same as your own adjuster when they do the calculation. They're going to move the damages around where they can fit in, for lack of a better way, other buckets that have plenty of money to pay for it and not use up all the
Yeah, your public adjuster shouldn't be lazy. So reading a policy is tedious. I've been an adjuster for spanning 3 decades, and even when I was an adjuster, I hated reading policies. They're really hard to comprehend.
Mm-hmm. They give you headaches.
And I have to go through a policy. When you hire your claims professional, he's going to help you expedite your claim. He's going to help you find insurance coverage that maybe the insurance company missed, maybe it didn't, or he's going to help you find scope that missed. And we're going to go through that policy with a highlighter. And I go through the policy with a highlighter, and I highlight because stuff is excluded and then it's brought back in if you bought extra insurance or there's an exclusion,
Endorsement.
and then you bought an endorsement, it brings it back in. So it can be very confusing to homeowner, because if you just read the first bit, you're like, oh, I don't have coverage for that. But sometimes you bring it back in. And that's our job as claims professionals, to go through that policy and find whatever we can. And it's fascinating sometimes what we find and how we can move things around. Is also sometimes the policy is ambiguous. And when a policy is something that's ambiguous, you can also get coverage if you go to a court of law or if you push the insurance company, because, hey, you said this was covered, then you said it wasn't, then you kind of brought it back in here. And it's so confusing. Sometimes there's even coverage you don't know and can't read that you have. And so we're at a break, Dave? Okay, cool. I get in the break sign here. I didn't realize we were 5 minutes. Anyways, this is Phil live with Insurance Claims Radio. Check us out at rooftoproofing.com, 303-997-4247. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Insurance Claim Radio. Be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Do you have a commercial property hail claim, troubled claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? Rooftop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs. Engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters, we get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, finance all the experts, exceptional experience and a stellar reputation with zero out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Rooftop Restoration. 303-997-4247. 303-997-4247. Check us out at rooftоprestoration.com.
Welcome back to Insurance Claim Radio. Now, here's Phil Coutu and his team.
Hi, this is Phil. You're live with Insurance Claims Radio. We're a program here designed to help you with property coverage related to hail, fire, for commercial claims and residential claims. We're just speaking about law and ordinance, and James has a lot to say. We're going to let James jump on the mic. James D'Angelo.
I forgot where I left off there. Excuse me. Well, basically, law and ordinance is usually a percentage of the total. Thank you. Law and ordinance is usually a percentage of the total of coverage. And if it's not used to your benefit, that's what I'm going to say here. You want to adjust the claim to your benefit, you as the claimant. That claim, and Phil was talking about claims being ambiguous. All policies are ambiguous. They're ambiguous for a reason. It gives the insurance company the ability to take the claim in the direction they want. That can also work to your advantage also. And because it's ambiguous, Phil also mentioned earlier that sometimes if you go to a lawsuit, it'll work in your favor, which it absolutely will. And the reason for that, and I don't practice law, but the reason for that is the insurance company drafted the policy. You didn't get to put any input in it. So if they drafted something that no one can understand, you'll get the benefit of the doubt. And that's how the law here in Colorado works. But nonetheless, what you want to do is match that policy, match that coverage that you have to your loss where you get the biggest benefit. And here's the important thing everybody should know out there. When you have a property claim, there is no number that's correct. That number could be all over the board. The insurance company can write an adjustment for your claim and be at one number, and your expert can write an adjustment for your claim and be at another number, and they're both valid based upon how it's approached, based upon the strategy.
Well, that's an important point, though. If your expert's at $1 million and the insurance company's at $500,000, is the insurance company really wrong? Well, the burden of proof lies upon you to prove it. They're estimating what they see. I've been an adjuster working for insurance carriers for many years. And, personally, I was running in hurricanes, and I was a case manager and catastrophe VP of a catastrophe company. And I missed stuff. I got called back out. I even did quality control for a state insurer in Florida for a while. And sometimes really good adjusters just miss stuff. I mean, in catastrophes, some of the adjusters, depending on their experience level, they're all working hard. When you're up at 11 o'clock at night and you're using computer software, sometimes you can just enter something. I many times, instead of getting mad at an adjuster when I've been on the other side, because I've been on both sides, I'll call up the adjuster and like, why did you guys pay for like half the squares on this roof? You paid for it over here. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? And it's just a simple typo, and it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. That I've personally corrected stuff as a large loss adjuster for state insurers on quality control. So, I try not to get mad right away because there's no use. Let's just get to the facts. Is this a legitimate mistake? Which sometimes is. Other times it's just they really wrote a low scope, and that's where guys like sitting at this table come in, is to recapture what you're truly owed.
And this is Ryan with Blue Ribbon Exteriors and Construction. I think the other thing is that what you're looking at too is documentation. It comes back to the adjuster's documenting, but he's running. I mean, in realistic points, even if you live in Colorado, we got hit with tons of hail this year all over. Those guys are running sometimes 10 to 15 jobs a day. I don't think they're out there saying, hey, we're going to miss this, we're going to miss that, but they're running a bunch of jobs. They're only human too. And so we brought up in a previous show documentation and being able to document everything, and that's why you want a contractor that's going to spend the time out there really running through your claim. And I would ask questions. How are you going to go about documenting my claim? They should be running it, at least we do, and I'm not going to say that everybody's process is right, counterclockwise, then getting on the roof, walking the entire roof, going through the portion, but they're really looking at everything. I mean, not only the roof and the exterior and the windows, but they're looking at your personal property, making sure that everything's documented, the mailbox, the fence, everything gets looked at so that you as a homeowner are making sure that your claim is fully being justified and moving through. And we've had customers say, oh my God, you're gouging. There's no gouging. We're going through the process. We're looking at what needs to be done, and the insurance company has a right to bring you back to what we call pre-loss, the way it was before the storm hit. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
That's a great point, Ryan. I'm Phil. I'm with Rooftop. I'm your host. Not only do you have to do that for the missed stuff on the scope, a lot of times there's just missed construction components or incorrectly identified construction components or a complexity of a job. So, especially in residential, not as much in commercial, but in residential, there's insurance estimating programs, insurance software, we call that they use, the insurance companies develop. And it somewhat is a one size fits all for residential. But, sometimes you've got a step flashing on a wall and some insurance companies want you to reuse that. And I'm like, why should a roofing contractor reuse a step flashing when there's nails put into it on the shingles? Now it's taken up. You can't hit that same nail hole. That is part of the waterproofing membrane. And so some insurance companies will just automatically pay for it now. The arguments have happened. However, sometimes you go to take off that flashing, it's nailed behind the siding. So now when you go to rip the siding off, you damage the vapor barrier. You don't have the same waterproofing siding. So insurance companies are like, well, other roofers can do it. It's like, no, it's nailed to the wall, sir. It's not just loose laid in there. So now I got to take the siding off. And because I got to take your wood or your James Hardy siding off, I got to paint that section to put my customer back to pre-loss condition. So that's what you get with the experts here is we're going to look at it. We all have a vast amount of construction experience. I've got hands-on since I was 13. I got a nail in the hand, two broken heels, even got a broken back from something else recently. But, you paid your dues, and experience does mean a lot. Now, when I was a case manager and we had these huge disparities, I would never get upset like some insurance adjusters do because I had the construction laws. I'd be like, let me see the estimates, show me. When I'm an adjuster for the insurance company, like, you guys show me, and if you give me really good proof, I'm going to try to get this paid for. But you can't just say, oh, you wrote a deficient scope. You got to tell me why. You got to show me pictures. Okay, here's why that siding has to come off. Here's why we had to raise that toilet and vent pipe 6 inches because it didn't meet code. A lot of contractors don't have the level of knowledge or the education to properly present the claim. They're great hands-on on the roof, but they're not educated on all these sides. So it's very, very important to choose a real quality construction professional. Now, adjusters, remember, they take, depending on the time, it's now up to about 5 days. They take a 5-day course. A lot of it is about is simply about insurance. It's some of it's nonsense, like, oh, who was the insurance commissioner of this state and that. But they got 5 days. But sometimes they're 20 years old, sometimes 6 years old, but it doesn't mean they have any construction experience. And I know they've worked for me. I used to run a prominent catastrophe company, and some people can use the insurance software right now, but they don't know the complexities in that wall. They don't know when they see asbestos sometimes. There's many, many things. They don't understand that door has to come off and those baseboards have to come off. Oh, and it triggers something on the ceiling. Oh, the water got behind the cabinets. We can't just detach and reset these really expensive cabinets because they're going to break up. We're going to do damage. So the main thing when you have a construction professional is getting someone that has that really good rounded knowledge and is going to say, okay, yeah, when we do this, this is going to happen. When we do this, this is going to happen. And then being able to articulate it to the insurance company and document it. The burden of proof is always on the policyholder, which is you, the insured out there. And the more you can document, the better. Now, that's where the claims dispute happens. And you also need guys like James D'Angelo as a public adjuster, because now they're saying, oh, we're just not paying for that. That's when you get into policy conditions. So, but if you do a great job documenting and the insurance company isn't being honorable, that's where a public adjuster can help you get all that and hold them accountable. Mike?
You know, we were talking the other day about a client of mine that the insurance company denied coverage. We ended up giving them an awesome estimate, and we turned that into the insurance company. The insurance looked at it and says, we're still going to deny you. We're going to deny you appraisal. All right. So, and how can that happen? It was crazy. I didn't understand it, but you made me understand it.
Yeah, I helped James with a letter just regarding the appraisal, which he could pass on to his homeowner. They're welcome to use or not. It was just a letter outlining. I helped James understand. I think they might have had the wrong estimate because they're saying there wasn't a dispute because you're only claiming $8,000. We're at $9,000. But I clearly looked at Mike's estimate as $27,000. So there's a $19,000 discrepancy. I said, okay, well, calm down. Let's just write them a letter, attach the two estimates, say, no, you're wrong. There's a discrepancy in $19,000. We're going to be right back. Is that a wrap, Dave? Or no, we're coming right back from the break. I got to mark this down. We'll be right back. You're live with Phil Coutu on Insurance Claims Radio.
You're listening to Insurance Claim Radio. Be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Do you have a commercial property hail claim, troubled claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? Rooftop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs. Engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters, we get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, finance all the experts, exceptional experience and a stellar reputation with zero out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Rooftop Restoration, 303-997-4247, 303-997-4247. Check us out at rooftop-restoration.com.
Welcome back to Insurance Claim Radio. Now, here's Phil Coutu and his team.
Hi, this is Phil. You're live with Insurance Claims Radio. The reason this being is they said there's not a discrepancy because your estimate's $8,500 roughly and we're at $9,800. So they're right. But obviously they weren't looking at the right file. Like I said, there's human error. People are tired. And I said, Mike, let me see your whole file. I'm like, Mike, you're at $27,000. So send a simple email back. Hey, I think you might have made a mistake.
But you've had them deny appraisal.
Oh, I've had them deny appraisal. Yeah. I've had them wrongfully deny appraisal.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Force
Well,
them.
I'll force them to appraisal. Now, there are some legitimate reasons on coverage. So you can have a declaratory action, have a judge decide on that. But when it comes to insurance, it's like if there's a coverage dispute, if the hail damaged it, is it really coverage dispute? If you paid for, I've had one on a monster public television station before where they said there's $8,000 damage. Okay? $8,000 damage, and they were denying the hail, and the hail was golf ball. So we had to get some lawyers temporarily involved to help us force the issue because that's the legal side. And we ended up in an appraisal, and we took a claim basically from roughly just under $100,000. I think it was 97. We sold it $936,000 because they were trying to say the hail wasn't big enough to damage the roof. On this claim, they actually tried to say that it was foot traffic on the membrane. and they tried to say the hail was 0.75 inch, and we're like, our weather experts say it's 1.8 to 1.75 inch. The kinetic energy is huge. It goes up about 7-8 times from that size. Then they tried to say it's foot traffic, so what we had to do is hire a meteorologist. And I said, okay, we've got two walls the same direction the hail came in that you say is foot traffic that are fractured. So what did one guy jump on one foot and hit the other wall? And then we had the other wall where the hail couldn't hit it because it was coming at an angle. It had no damage. So eventually, after a few years, we were able to wrap up the claim with all the forensics and testing we did.
That's crazy. How can they deny it?
So Mike's talking right now, but he's nowhere near his mic. So he's saying that's crazy. So our whole thing is that if you are denied for appraisal, for all the contractors listening and people out there, it might not be a legitimate denial. That's where you need a claims professional to jump in.
You know, they can deny it if it's a coverage issue. If you don't have coverage for it, you don't have coverage for it. And a lot of people misunderstand that. You know, they don't understand that the appraisal is for a different end price. That's really how the language speaks in the policy.
Okay, so let's clarify that, because I've had many lawsuits you can look up in Colorado. They're going to say the amount of loss. The amount of loss is just not on the price, saying, okay, that baseboard's $1.10 a square foot. My contractor has it $1.30. It's also for the amount of the loss associated with the damage of the claim. It gets a little confusing. That's why you want an expert.
Right.
But, you know, a perfect example is hail damage. They come in and say one side of your roof is damaged, the other side has repairs. And we're saying, no, you can go to appraisal because you want to quantify that damage, which is really the amount of the loss. So there's a lot of double speak in insurance.
There
and that's a good example
There
of
is.
how you can confuse a policyholder, or the industry can. And they can run with their definition. And is their definition wrong? Maybe some judge...
It depends what judge you get.
Right. Maybe some judge determined that somewhere down the road, so it comes out. But, you know, there is still some common sense out there, and you can get to the truth, and you can get to appraisal. I probably compelled myself over 10 appraisals in court, maybe more, maybe 20 across the country now, I'm not sure, over the last 10, 12 years, because they denied appraisal, you know. And sometimes they're right how they're thinking. Mike was just talking about his appraisal. I read the letter. I'm like, Mike, there's no dispute here. They're saying you're under their estimate. No, I'm not. So I said, okay, well, maybe it's human error. Maybe they open up the wrong file. So now you point out what the error is and still request appraisal. Show this to your homeowner, you know. And, the contractor's got to be careful out of there, too, because they will try to pinch you for public adjusting or say you're practicing insurance. But, you know, if you're right, you're right. Let's get down to the facts. If you're right, you're right. Explain to your policyholder. If you need to get a public adjuster involved, you want to be more cautious, then, you know, you should consider that as well.
I mean, let's put out there too, this is Ryan with Blue Ribbon Exteriors, that, you know, for us, and I'm speaking for myself, anywhere from 1% to 3% of our claims go to appraisal. I mean, most of the time you're able to sit with the adjuster, amicably come to some kind of solution. It doesn't have to go into that portion. It doesn't have to go
Correct.
to a lawsuit. We talk about that on here, but you're talking anywhere between 1% and 3% of the major claims. In residential and commercial, it can be a lot higher depending on what the value is.
And let's talk about that too. Sometimes there might be a breakdown in communication with that adjuster, and everybody gets off on the wrong foot. I was an adjuster. I had contractors. I just didn't want to take their call because they were being so aggressive, or they're being jerks, or our personalities didn't jive. You know, remember, a policyholder can also ask to be on the phone with their contractor, or they can hire a public adjuster. The public adjuster is much more savvy. He can say, hey, listen, we want to get to the supervisor, or we want another adjuster to assess us because this is what's happening. Because sometimes you get in roadblocks. It's almost like a marriage sometimes. Sometimes you just disagree and can't get past it. So what you want to do is cooler, educated heads should prevail, and you want to say, okay, here's the big discrepancy. Like, I've had to go around many adjusters because we just weren't getting anywhere, or the adjuster had it wrong.
Well, and the other thing is too, Phil, that, you know, just like there's bad people in the world, there's bad adjusters. So you're going to run across them. I'd say there's probably a 1% to 3% out there that just don't want to do anything. They're going to deny anything they can. And you've got to be ready to go to bat based on what you found, and be able to execute and move forward.
And at what point would you want to go to litigation?
You know, when there's a big discrepancy and you believe your insurance company is not honoring some coverage, is misinterpreting coverage, that you think that they're missing construction components, you think that they intentionally or even accidentally underpaid construction components, before you go to litigation, you should always exhaust the communications with the adjuster. You got to always try to be nice. You know, I was an adjuster. If you're nice, it gets you a lot more credibility. You want to factually point out one big mistake I noticed that everybody makes is they call up and they want to argue with the insurance company or the adjuster. And I'm like, that's senseless. Have your facts together. Call them up and say, hey, listen, I'm going to send you an email. I highlighted the differences in my contractor scope. I read my policy, or I had a PA help me with my policy. Here's where we believe you're interpreting the coverage wrong, right? Put it all together in a package. Hey, I hired an expert engineer. He says that the vinyl siding, there's enough of it that's damaged, and because of the complexity, it does need to be all replaced under the policy. My public adjuster agrees with the application of coverage. So all those things apply. And you got to remember, too, like, there's just a huge breakdown in communications. Everyone's moving fast in the world these days. They're working. So before you just call and argue with them, I get these contractors that call me, oh, I argued 10 times with them. I said, what do you got in writing? Well, I haven't done anything. Oh, I sent them one email. You know, why not argue in a written format and ask them to respond in a written format? It's a very, very important thing. I always ask, depending what side I'm on, either side I'm on, I ask either if I'm adjusting for the insurance company, I'm going to ask the contractor to prove it, tell me where it is, show me the photos, or reschedule reinspection. If I'm on the private public adjuster side, I'm going to send the adjuster a nice email. Sometimes it does get a little heated, so they're not all really nice, but you always you get more bees with honey. I want to send them, but I want to factually explain to them where the discrepancy is, what my opinion is, what I think, and ask them to respond. Like, why do you have a different opinion? Do you have a different definition of this word? We're missing these construction components. And so those are other ways to get to appraisal or get a settled claim.
Documentation, documentation, documentation.
Mike's got it right. Documentation. So that's going to end up being a wrap for today's show. We're live on Insurance Claim Radio. I'm your host, Phil Coutu. You can check us out at rooftoproofing.com, poweradjusters.com, a host of other companies. You can give us a call direct at 303-997-4247, and we'll see you back here.
Thank you for listening to Insurance Claim Radio. For more information on how to maximize your hail damage insurance claim or to contact Phil and his team, call 303-997-4247. And be sure to tune in next week for more Insurance Claim Radio.
Do you have a commercial property hail claim, troubled claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? Rooftop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs. Engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters, we get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, finance all the experts, exceptional experience and a stellar reputation with zero out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Rooftop Restoration. 303-997-4247. 303-997-4247. Check us out at rooftop.restoration.com.